Alright, promise to never do that again, but hey everyone, welcome back to another part of Mega Man. We're gonna jump right in with Iceman stage, and we have the first, we have the first enemy known as Crazy Razy. Okay then. As I said in the last episode, we took care of Elecman and Cutman, and off-screen I got the Magnet Beam, and I actually recorded it, so I guess you guys will see whether or not I decided to post that video as well, because I don't know if maybe it was funny or anything, if people may be curious to see it. Anyway, those little penguin-like enemies are known as pings. They will infinitely respawn up until you get across a certain threshold, and ooh, a 1-up. There actually was a 1-up drop in, when I was trying to get the Magnet Beam, but I couldn't get to it. But anyway, yeah, so if you get a 1-up, then it does just that. It gives you, extra life, which is nice, obviously. Anyway, it's about right here when the pings stop respawning. When you want to be careful is, so Mega Man in this game, it naturally slides like a lot, but the ice physics is really crazy. Like you see, look at how long I was standing in place there trying to run. But if you want to mitigate Mega Man's natural sliding, then two things you can do. One, what you can do is jump, and that usually will help cancel his sliding. Another thing you can do is to pause the game, because that makes Mega Man just teleport back down, and that way you can also try to mitigate the sliding. But I think I said earlier, actually I like the disappearing blocks puzzle. I like them a lot, actually, probably more than most people do, so I'm probably in the minority. That's what I don't use my Magnet Beam on. What I use my Magnet Beam on is actually like a later section, which I'm not even sure I'll do, because even the Magnet Beam itself is not the best. It's great for avoiding platforms, but sometimes, I don't know if it's just something I'm doing wrong, but like sometimes the hitbox turns off even though it's clearly there still. Okay, you know, I'm honestly surprised I was able to do that while talking to you all. But anyway, over here, we have footholders. I don't like them at all on how they're employed. So, as the name kind of implies, they're meant to be platforms to be used throughout the level. And so, but there's a couple of problems with them. One, they aren't that well synced. So, sometimes it could be a while before the next footholder's really in a good position for you to jump off of them. Another problem is that they shoot at you. And this is, you know, an old 80s game, so it's gotta have knockback. Which is another problem. And I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like they have some really bad hitboxes, like... And of course I say that and I do it my first try. Anyway, come down here for another 1-up. That's always gonna spawn there. And I don't know if it's just me, but they kind of have a bad hitbox to them. Like, I swear, I swear I'll, end up taking damage even though I'm standing right on top of them. But honestly, I'm surprised I did that first try, because, yeah, it never works that well. Anyway, gonna avoid the big eye. That's probably the kindest big eye, just because you get so much space to try to avoid it. But, look out here, because pings will infinitely respawn until you get to the end. But, okay, one thing to mention is that this is the only Mega Man game to have enemies on this transition screen, or transition room, rather, between the boss. Every other Mega Man game, it's like the door, an empty room, and then the door again for the boss. But, this could be a blessing or a curse depending on which robot master you're facing. For Iceman, it's a blessing because you can use the pings to grind up weapon energy and life energy to get back up to normal. But actually I failed to mention some of the Robot Master's weaknesses. So, one thing to keep in mind is that throughout Mega Man games, the Robot Masters each have a weakness. So, you can use another Robot Master's weapons against them, and they'll do a lot of damage to them. So, Cutman is actually the only one I can't show. Cutman's weakness is the super arm, and you get the super arm from Gutsman, but because you always have to do one of these guys first, you're never going to have their weakness. So Gutsman's weapon weakness is Gutsman's super arm. You probably saw there were those boulders that I said that you can use the elect beam on. You can also use the super arm on him and pick up the blocks and throw them at enemies. And you can do that on Cutman and do some crazy damage to him. Electman's weakness is the Cut Blade. Iceman's weakness is the elect beam. And so next we're going to move on to Fireman's stage. And his weakness is Iceman's weapons. And so it's probably so I might as well demonstrate what these weapons do here because I never took the time to do it. So Cutman's weapon does a figure 8 like I said before. Iceman's weapon is kind of nice. It will shoot at an enemy and well, actually I'll show it. Hold on, come up here. There we go. And it's gonna freeze it in place like that. And Electman's weapon will do that, and from your origin will also shoot a beam straight up, which is really nice. And it also has a large ammo capacity. But maybe I'm just weird, but I disproportionately really like to just stick with my Mega Buster just because I'm very careful about not expending my energy of my weapons. But you could probably be a lot more loose with them than I am. It's just kind of like how I play games in general. Anyway, so yeah, this is Fireman. So his backstory is: melts and molds metals with flame-throwing torch flaring from atop his head. Yeah, anyway, these enemies up here are called tackle fire. So what they'll do is they'll spawn out of the lava, and then they'll come down and try to land on you. And, yeah, those you can consider bottomless pits. I guess it's kind of lucky that I got those extra lives, because 4 lives is like the most I've ever had in the game. In this game, anyway. Alright. Anyway, topic for this video I want to go into is probably my favorite. So, for the North American version, and I'm sure a lot of you probably heard about it, the North American version, the people who wrote the instruction manual also included a story for the original Mega Man game. And it's also pretty infamous for being bad. For one thing, like I mentioned in the last episode, Electman, with his backstory, I mentioned someone named Dr. Wright. That's actually a misspelling of Dr. Light. Dr. Light is one of the main protagonists in the game. He actually is the one who created Mega Man and the original 8 robots. I'll get into why I said 8 later. But anyway, I've always wanted to read the story out to all of you all. So, as long as this next section isn't terrible. Okay, yeah, it isn't. I don't really bother for those, because I feel like they're more trouble than they're worth. Anyway, here is the story of Mega Man. It's Mega Man! And yes, I have to yell because they capitalize all of Mega Man's name. It's Mega Man versus the powerful leaders and fighting forces of Monsteropolis. Not an actual canon thing. That strange, multifaceted land of robot-like humanoids. Brilliant scientist, Dr. Wright, should be Dr. Light, conceived the construction of fully operational, human-like experimental robots to perform specific everyday duties. Dr. Wright and his assistant, Dr. Wily, encouraged with their very first near-human robot, Mega Man, proceeded to develop 6 additional humanoids, all programmed to perform prescribed rituals. But with the exception of Mega Man, all of Dr. Wright's near-human robot experimentation went awry. Assistant Dr. Wily turned disloyal, reprogramming Dr. Wright's humanoids, now bent on destroying opposition so Dr. Wily can control the world and its resources. Resisting reprogramming, Mega Man is chosen the defender of the universe and its inhabitants. Mega Man dares to single-handedly penetrate 7 separate empires of Monsteropolis, eliminating the leaders and followers of these sovereignties. Get ready for some very exciting challenges. So yeah, very interesting story to say the least. This is pretty much like everything is wrong about that story though. There's no Monsteropolis that's canonical. There is. Dr. Wily was never Dr. Light's assistant, or Brian, I guess they call it in this game. Was never Dr. Light's assistant. They were, like, basically friends turned enemies, basically. Then, there's no, like, separate empires or anything as well. So, yeah. Okay. But, so yeah, I mentioned 8 robots. So, this is the only game. So, one thing Mega Man is known for is having the usual 8 bosses, robot masters as they're called. But this is the only game to not have those 8. This game only has 6. So that'd be the ones that you see on the stage select screen. Why is that? Well, so Mega Man, and there's another character who isn't introduced in this game technically, is known as Roll. Basically essentially Mega Man's sister, for lack of better words. This is one nice thing to use the magazines for. But anyway, Roll. So Mega Man was basically Mark 1, and Roll was Mark 2, while the other 6 bosses are the later 6. So they're, 3 through 8. That's why there's only 6 robot masters here, because technically Roll and Mega Man were the first 2. Oh my god. But anyway, these annoying enemies are known as Killer Bullet, which is pretty on the nose violent for a game released on Nintendo. Or, yeah, released on Nintendo, right? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the SNES, of course. Because those fire beams move way too fast that I don't want to deal with. One thing you want to be careful for with the Killer Bullets is that they can do damage to you on contact, as all enemies do. But another thing, as you saw right there, they can blow up if you shoot. They will blow up if you shoot them, rather. And well, that's light triggering is off the word. Anyway, they'll blow up if you shoot them, and if you're close enough to them, you'll take the damage from the explosion. And, yeah, they're pretty annoying enemies, and they'll be employed in much more annoying ways later as well. But I think we're close to the end of the state. Yep, here we are. Actually, no, I already mentioned it. So, like I said, Fireman's weakness is the, Ice Slasher, which is the weapon we got from Iceman. And that's obviously going to do a lot of damage as well. I think I mentioned in the last episode, but I recommend you just shoot these from a distance because it's not worth trying to potentially taking damage from them. Like that. Come on, come on, come on, come on. There we go. I think there's one more. Oh no, that's it. Okay then. Let's get right into it then. This is another, it's kind of like, what's his name? Cutman. It's basically a war, my strategy here is just basically a war of attrition. Take him out before he takes me out, which I guess is all boss strategies, but still, here it's like, just fire, 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 or I guess, ice, 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 baby. But yeah, okay, so, that was another 2 bosses, Iceman and Fireman. And in the next episode, we're going to be taking on the last 2 of the 6 robot masters, Gutsman and Bombman. See you guys then.